Hello YouTube, Ronin Kaze, take 2. I'm just talking, it's not even recording. The screen goes dim, and I'm like, what's that? All right, couple quick notes. Yesterday, you might have seen the thumbnail, it had Marvel comic covers in there. Now, I was going to use those as examples for like teams that have like a diversity of people in there. Also, depending on the class, if you have pets and you get into a group and you all were like pet classes, that's overpowered also. But anyways, that's why those things are there. Number 2, I put Linux on a laptop that doesn't have a USB port. It has like a dongle, only one, so it's kind of hard. And I just tried putting Linux on an older PC, Asus G73, and I kept failing because my USB was a USB 3.0 and I need a USB 2.0, so those are just kind of little heads up. And I'll let you know how those turn out. And anyways, we're talking about builds today, hybrid builds. One of the things that I'm doing now in the division, I have refractor, 3-piece refractor, 4-piece refractor, file jammer mask, and improvised piece. So that gives me 4 modifications that I put in damage reduction to elites, which is 12 each, so it's 48%. Plus I'm survival, that's why I need 4 pieces. And they all got to be yellows. And so I got like 58% damage reduction to yellows. I'm pulsing, so it's an instant heal when I'm going against any technology, and instantly heals my whole party, like up to the brim, and then I have a turret. That's a build specifically for legendaries because you don't always go against Black Tusk. While Vile Jammer's good, it puts damage on everyone, you don't get the heal from it, so I might do something different. But what we're talking about in hybrids is you're looking at a situation, you're taking pieces that aren't for that purpose and repurposing them and using them in a different way. And right, you're going against the developers in games, you're going against the developers. They want you to play this way, but you're going to play a different way. For example, in Azrael's Call 2, when I played that back in the day, you could go out in the desert somewhere and you could get this giant monster stuck on a rock and you could kill it. Because Azrael's Call 2 was all, you had collision all over the place. So there was a thing called rubber banding. You'd be running, but you'd collide with something in the play area, and then you'd rubber band back. But you would use that to your advantage. That's an exploit, obviously. Or if you get up on a rock and the monster can't see you on the rock and you kill the monster. But you level characters up to the max really fast that way. Or to a point where there's diminishing returns. It's funny how I mentioned hybrid with exploit, but what you're doing is you're trying to find a way to get over on the system. Just a quick thing, we're in Star Wars Old Republic today. You have a companion, you can raise the level of your companion. I'm doing one of my companion missions. We're back on Tatooine. We're going to find his father's remains, and then we're going to meet another person of my companion's race. They're hunting this monster, and he's going to blow it up with dynamite. And we're like, hey, dude, that's not hunting. That's fishing with dynamite. It's not fishing. It's dynamite. Anyways, that's what's going on the screen. In World of Warcraft, I had a shaman with a shield, and I'd be a healing build, and I would just solo everything because I could out-heal the damage. I had great healing. So in every single game, in every single class that I'm getting, I'm looking for a way to exploit that class and use it in a way that it wasn't really intended. For example, in Guild Wars, I told you can get armor sets that have different attributes. You can get healing sets, not really intended for a DPS because it's going to be slow. But you're unkillable if you have like heals. If you have like life stealing, you end up getting a ton of health back. So these are the kind of things I'm talking about. I'm mainly soloing in these games. I was in the Division with this build, the Division 2, and we did Legendary
Not even the scorekeeper could resist.
Tidal Basin, and we were with a person that On my one account, I have 9,000 watch. Skill level, this person had 17,000. And they obviously didn't have a lot of alts because this one character was uber. So we went through that like it was nothing. I helped a little bit, but that guy was going to take us through. Either that or he was cheating, YouTube. But I don't think he was cheating. So you're looking how you can exploit these things. A while back, there was an American football game between the New England Patriots and the Tennessee Titans. And the coach of the New England Patriots at the time was Bill Belichick. The coach of the Titans was Mike Vrabel. At a certain point in the game, Mike Vrabel started just taking penalties nonstop to get an advantage, something that Bill Belichick had done, but he turned tables and did that, used an exploit, used a hybrid situation, hybrid tactic to take care of that.
That still doesn't explain why we should.
So these are things I want you to consider. And there's everything in life. There's exploits, and that's what the people above you are doing. It's what the people below you are doing. Is it wrong if you're exploiting something? It depends, and that goes into an ethical thing. Not going to do that because we're doing this part today, but that's an interesting topic. Where do you draw the line? So here we're talking that hunter. Same thing goes in Final Fantasy. Traditionally, in almost all of these games, I'll be a healing class because you end up becoming unkillable and you can do all the content. Takes a long time. If there's a DPS check or DPS race that you got to meet, that's when you might need some help. The bad thing in Final Fantasy is then when I'd had to progress, I'd hit these checkpoints where I have to heal in a group. So then I'd have to change my thinking and put a lot of stress. Anxiety, YouTube didn't want it. The Division 2, Elder Scrolls Online. Elder Scrolls Online, you have a class, you have 3 specializations in that class. One is a tank, one is a DPS, and one is a heals kind of thing, or crowd control. Now they let you spec from every single class, so you could make a specification where you had 3 tank builds from other classes all in one build, so you could be almost unkillable, and or DPS, or the best skills in each class, and you could have like the best skills possible to do your there's another person doing that quest. I hate that guy. That guy hit that other his companion's always hitting on you. I go back and do my companion's quest back on the ship. You'll see I go in the room where that guy is. I just turn around and go out. Always hitting on me. Gross. Gross, YouTube. So with the advent of these games where you have gone away from the traditional trinity of tank, healer, DPS, and you all have a responsibility for that. For your own tanking, your own survivability, your own healing, on the newer games, it gives you a lot of different ways to take advantage of the game. Now, what happens when someone from the old school gets in one of these games? They're expecting someone to heal them. They're not making a sustainable character. You usually find this with DPS. There'll be glass cannons. What's a glass cannon? You do so much damage, but you get hit once and you're down. And I want you to think about the Division, and then let's think about math for a second. You have the best build in the world. It does a ton of damage, but you die a lot. No matter what how great your build is, let's say you do 2,000 damage, everyone else does 1,000 damage, so your group total damage is 5,000 damage, but you're always dead. I'd rather you add 1,000 damage and we're there all the time, because then we have sustained 4,000, not 3,000. Then we got to go res you or pick you up. And usually most wipes happen. That's that domino effect. Almost in every single group. One person goes down, you try to res them. Unless you have a dedicated person that spec their... Again, when they spec in these hybrid games, when they spec for only healing, there's your damage reduction. So, that's one of the things that you have to consider. And there's tactics to do that too, right? So here's a tactic that you use. Not everyone uses it, but you'll strafe, right? So that's the easiest one you learn in MMOs at the beginning. For range things, you strafe back and forth, because if they're shooting arrows, the mechanics are they're never going to hit you if you strafe. Sometimes you'll pull enemies behind, right? You'll pull them behind an area so they have to line up along a wall, and you're using the physics of the game against the mobs where you just kill one person at a time. What about strategic hybridness? That's example of an ESO. The immediate thing after the starter, after you get the starter mission, you go get your companions. So then your leveling is painless the rest of the way. Sometimes they'll give you XP boost. You'll pick those at a time where they're most effective. Back in the day, I would just chug those things, and then maybe I'd go to the bathroom for 10 minutes or whatever, and then I'd lose 10 minutes of XP gain. Wasn't thinking about it strategically. Some of that goes in your life. So you see, I look in there and I'm like, nope, don't want to see, sir. Some of the things, I'm a little bit older, maybe, than some of you, and I'm looking at Social Security, and I'm looking at Medicare, and I'm looking at those things, and I sold Medicare insurance, so I kind of understand how to navigate that. In the state I'm in, a lot of the health insurance was $0. Like, you didn't have to pay anything for the insurance. In Medicare, you have to pay certain amounts, and you have to reach certain levels, and then blah, blah, blah. You want to know what the hack for health insurance in the United States is when you're over 65? You got to be healthy. If you don't want to pay a lot for health insurance, you got to be healthy, because then you're never going to the doctor. That's how those systems are based on. And it's kind of like car insurance. Car insurance would be great in the United States if you could pay it right when you need it, not, let them accrue the value. And if you don't have accidents for 10 years, that doesn't really go in the equation that much, right? It doesn't, you don't get anything for that. Your rate might go a little bit lower, but as soon as you have an accident, it goes up. Right, so all these thoughts of like, how do I game the system? And nowadays they're called hacks, YouTube. Like if you like a Big Mac, if you like a Big Mac, you don't like a Big Mac. You like the Mac sauce. But you don't need that extra piece of bread in the middle. You can get all that junk. Don't get me started on McDonald's, YouTube. You saw I did a whole video on the people that aren't using the app. One reason not to use the app if you're doing all this crazy ordering. You can't do that through the app. That's for standard things. For high speed, low drag. But in a game, that's what you should think about. What skills does my character have, and how can I use those in ways that aren't really, I'm sure the game didn't design it. Why can a DPS tank person, one way is like if you have potions, right? That's one way. That's a financial cost to your character. You can get 1 million potions. So what do the developers do? The developers say, okay, you're going to use a potion only every 60 seconds. So there's all these games that we're playing with the developers, like, okay, I'm doing this. And let's talk back about the WoW thing in builds. That's why in PvP, it's very hard to find a game in PvP, because you have to constantly rebalance things, because someone finds a way to win that you didn't think about before, that the developers didn't think about. Which is going to go to another thing. Who's programming AI? Developers. If there's times that if there are times that the developers, geez, YouTube. If it's time the developers can't foresee everything in games, what about in AI? Right, so that's part of the thing in all this. So now I'm on this planet called Kesh. This character is trying to get all these Rim worlds or Rift worlds to join the Republic, so I got to go do a bunch of ethically challengeable things. This is a planet that produces chemicals. We've been mining it in the Republic. Now the Empire's there trying to take it over. So we're going to fight. I didn't go talk to that person. The other problem is I'm skipping all these side quests, so that's why my level's low. Because my strategy is, so that I give you better videos, I just go through all that. I skip all those side quests. I I got to pay the piper at some point, right? Because I got to do the side quests to get my stuff up. So part of it is I get rested XP. That's kind of how I'm trying to game the system. Getting back to builds, there's the meta, and of course you can do that. But use your creativity, go test things. And we talked a long time about methodology. Maybe you test on an easy level, and as you go up, you test on harder, and that's what you learn. Eventually you learn when you get to the harder people, oh, this didn't work. It worked when I was going against, you know, the basic people, but against more advanced people, I got to do something a little different. And that's really what I'm doing all the time, everywhere. Think about computers. That's why Linux is a benefit. If I can do everything I need to do, 95% of things. I'll tell you what I can't do. For a while, I couldn't play Star Wars Galaxies Restoration, I think is the name of it. And it was a crowd-made reboot of Star Wars Galaxies. It was only on Windows. It recently is going on Linux experimental. I might try to do that. Another update. I told you that the Mac Mini wasn't a buy because it couldn't even play the Division 2. That's a relatively tough game because it has a cheat in it. Now it plays it. So I installed it and it ran great. But I couldn't get my counters up, so I said, "Ooh, I should load it into Steam." So now I'm in the process of loading it into Steam and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. It's a little bit different doing things on Crossover on a Mac, but it now runs, so I'm going to give it a, yes, you should buy Crossover if you have a Mac Mini. Why should you get a Mac Mini versus a laptop? Because when you are going to do this emulation stuff, you're going to need a fan. If you have like a MacBook Air, if you want to play games, just get a Mac Mini. You can still get your laptop, but get a Mac Mini. Hook it up to a big monitor. Doesn't have to have a big butt. What other things are hybrid? So we talked about hybrid tactics. I am going to fail right here. What I'm doing, unbeknownst to me, because I'm not looking behind me, is I am creating a train of enemies that are going to follow me. Because I can't really see where the mission is. So they start attacking me. I should hide instantly there, but I go over here. And I'm going to turn around. And when I go back out there, you're going to see there's a dump truck load of people. And my companion, who I just did all those special missions, can't keep up with the amount of damage I'm taking. Excuse me, YouTube. So he's going to get smoked, and I'm going to get smoked. Bye, YouTube. This is Ronin Kaze. Have a good weekend. Bye.